Hello guys, this is your Justice analyst Kirill from Belarus living in Germany, and we will continue today with our predictions after the second rehearsals. If you remember from my last video about the first semi-final, actually quite a lot of things have changed after the rehearsals, especially Ireland, who got in my predictions plus 50% qualification chance. But now let's take a look how much it will change for the second semi-final. So first of all, I will remind you who were my 10 qualifiers in accordance with the songs before we saw their actual live stagings. So these were Greece, Switzerland, Austria, Denmark, Armenia, Georgia, Estonia, Israel, Norway, and of course the Netherlands. So I saw before Belgium as a sort of borderline qualifier, but rather not qualifying. And now let's take a look if it will change or we will still have the same 10 qualifiers. And we're starting today with Sarah and Loop. So I have already rated her chances as 35% before. I think now I definitely want to increase them, so to 45%. The song really profits from this huge stage. I think it looks even better on a bigger stage than on a smaller one. The dancers are great, Sarah are great, you know, her vocals are amazing. The dancing which she's doing is also quite complicated and she can combine it with singing so well. You can definitely feel and see that she is a sort of seasoned performer even though she's very young. So I think the only concern in this case is that we have two other very strong female pops. We have the one from Austria and the one from Georgia, and Malta is coming kind of in the beginning of the running order. It's a bit less original one than the other two, so I think this is something what will drag too many votes from Malta. If Sarah would have been in the first semi-final, I would have rated her higher than Cyprus, so there she would have gotten from me like 70%, but in this second semi-final, unfortunately, only 45%. Besa. With all my love to this singer, before I was rating her chances as 30%. But then this rehearsals happened. In the first rehearsals, she was wearing this little bit cringy blue dress. The dancers were also dressed very strange. In the second rehearsals, it was this more sparkling outfit, which was also looking a little bit strange. It was giving her like some huge shoulders and so not really showing her natural beauty because she's such a beautiful woman. And currently there are some rumors she will wear actually the black dress a little bit like in the video clip of her song. So it's all, you know, sort of a mess. I think Albania really doesn't really know what to do this year in order to get to the final. They're really lacking the help of Sasha Jean-Baptiste, who was really staging Albanian performances in all the previous years. So currently I can't imagine Albania qualifying, so I can rate their chances only as 10%, which means Albania lost 20% because I thought there is some potential for staging with the song because official music video had such nice visuals, but unfortunately they messed it all up. So now Marina, Satti, she's such an adorable and funny person. If you watch her interviews, how she dresses up, how she talks, what she tells, it's extremely funny. She's really, for me, like the most funny character in this Eurovision. Even though we have, of course, Kaleen and some other funny performers, I think Marina is really giving this kind of humor, which I really enjoy. Her performance, on the other hand, is not really showing any humor. You can see in her, you know, face expressions that she is doing it with some sort of self-irony, but maybe it's for the best. So in general, I rated their chances 60% because we had this rumor that they will film everything with just one camera. I was a bit concerned, remembering the previous performers in Eurovision with just one camera shot. But now we saw how it will look on TV. It looked really good. I just hope it will not look too repetitive in a long run, you know, for the whole 3 minutes show. So I will increase their chances to 80%. We also saw how much hype she got in the community and outside, also in TikTok after the rehearsal. So I'm pretty sure she will qualify. How well she will do in the final, how well the judges will rate her or will actually destroy her in the final, we will see. But the final is, I think, definitely there. and now one of the main favorites to win Eurovision this year, and it's Switzerland, the Code by Nemo. So I have already rated their chances as 100% even before the rehearsals. I think I will keep it as 100%. I don't really see any disastrous staging. Of course, what they are wearing is a bit questionable, but it's at least memorable, what is a good thing. I think the judges in the final will definitely stand behind it because of their live vocals, because of how modern and creative the song itself is. But I'm thinking that maybe this dress was picked just, to get more attention from the televoters, who of course are also deciding 50% in the final. I'm not sure if it will be appealing for all types of televoters, but for some for sure. Anyway, it's a safe qualifier, and I'm really excited to see the full performance. So this is the song which I was rating last in the semi-final before the rehearsals with just 5%. I think Aiko did a really great job with the live staging, also with her vocals. It now looks much more elevated. I just think the song itself is not really strong enough. It's not really memorable enough. We have some other rock entries in the semi-final like San Marino or Norway. I think they will even get more attention than the one from Czechia. So I can't see her qualifying, but I will still increase her chances from 5% to 15%. Next one is We Will Rave. So this is, a very much Eurovision fans targeting song. So that's why it's ranked in the Eurovision scoreboard app second in the semi-final. But the bookmakers are not as optimistic. They rated 9th at this point of time. And I have to say, for me, after seeing her live performance, at least this 30-second snippet, I have to decrease her chances from 75% to just 55%. I think it's still a stronger bob than for Malta, even though the live performance of Malta is definitely more convincing. I think the main problem is not even like, the vocals of Kaleen or something. It's more how it all comes together. It all looks very dark. Kaleen doesn't really seem enjoying herself so much on stage. She's not smiling so much. I hope it's only just because it was a rehearsal. I really hope that during the live show she will get all this energy from the crowd, who will definitely vibe with the song like crazy. She will smile, she will strike this amazing energy from her, and then it will be much more convincing. But at this point of time, I'm not really so convinced. I just really hope she will not become a shocking non-qualifier. But at this point of time, I can rate her chances as 55%, and I will remind you that even Halo, with disastrous vocals, was almost qualifying. They were lacking just like 2 or 3 points to reach the 10th place in accordance with the televote in their semi-final. So I really have hopes for We Will Rave, because it's only televoting in the semi-final. And now it's time for Denmark, who is unfortunately non-qualifying already 3 years in a row. So will it be the year when they will qualify? I really don't know. I was ranking their chances as 50% before the rehearsals. They actually have changed their live performance. Now it's all not so wide as the one at the Dance Melody Grand Prix was. Now they really use the sandy colors. Saba is also throwing sand from her hands at some point of time. I think it definitely has some cool features. On the other hand, we also have seen that in this snippet which they chose for the final recap, she is also not singing like the first note of the chorus, which she was usually singing. And it's really something what I just cannot stop noticing, because I like the song so much. It's my personal favorite of the semi-final. I really wish it would be performed the same way as it sounds in the MP3 version. Unfortunately, it's not the case. As I have said, I have ranked the chances as 50% before. I will still keep it with 50%. I think some parts were improved, but also some, lost a little bit of this wow factor which the performance from the Dance Melody Grand Prix had. So I'm a little bit unsure also how the televoters will treat this kind of a very generic song. I'm pretty sure that the juries would have liked it, because the Saba's vocal performance, her vocal abilities, especially for her lack of experience, are really super impressive. The song is very modern, very current, but I just think maybe it's not as appealing for the televoters as it could be. So now 50%. By the way, just some days ago, I came back from my trip to Armenia and brought with me, of course, the flag. I was there just for some days doing, just typical touristic activities. I don't have any relatives or anything there. It's a beautiful country, and actually just by accident, I have found the street where the official music video of Ladaniva was filmed. It is such a beautiful street. I will now show you some pictures of me and also from the official music video. So as you can see, it's most probably the same street. Maybe there is like a second one which looks absolutely the same somewhere in Armenia, but I wouldn't expect it. So now let me just put the flag back. I just really love to travel, and Armenia was now my country 77, which I have visited in the world, and it was so incredible, so lovely, so nice people, such amazing food. So consider following my Instagram if you would like to see more of my travel pictures from all over the world. And now let's get back to the Eurovision song. So I was rating the chances of Jako with 95% before. Now I can definitely increase it to 100%. I'm pretty sure it's like a typical song which the televoters would rank pretty good. I'm not sure about the judges in the final. I think they will really not appreciate the lack of words in this song and the lack of, some development in the song. It's just a bit repetitive as well. However, there is this kind of jury note towards the end, but I'm not sure if it will be enough to get their attention. But with the televoters, I think they will do well, especially if the running order in the final will be also good. But here, as I say, it's a safe qualifier, definitely 100%. We will see Ladaniva in the Eurovision finals. So our next country with the long non-qualification streak is of course Latvia, who didn't manage to qualify to the Eurovision finals since 2016, so basically all the last 6 Eurovision editions. If this year will be an exception, well, it doesn't seem so. I was ranking the chances of dons with 25%, now I can rank them as 30%. I think some visuals with the tree, they look quite effective, reminding a little bit of Jamala, so he's really trying to reuse some of the good concepts from the past. I'm not really sure about his outfit, like, this kind of Epps structured shirt. So yeah, not really sure about that. Anyway, he looks a little bit lonely on that huge Eurovision stage. His voice is absolutely mesmerizing, absolutely stunning. So I'm pretty sure he will get some votes, but I don't think it will be enough for the Eurovision final. So the San Marino's rehearsals really left me a little bit in doubts. I have to say, after the first rehearsals, I even included San Marino as one of my 3 disappointments of the semifinal, because I was really hoping that this band, after they brought a very creative, cool staging at the Benidorm Fest last year, that they should bring something also even more incredible, even more memorable to the Eurovision stage. And then I saw the first rehearsals, which was a little bit underwhelming. It was not bad, but it was nothing special. That's why I included them in my top 3 disappointments. And then the second rehearsal happened. We saw these camera shots for the beginning of the song. It looks a little bit like Alice in Wonderland with those bunnies in the background, cheese, spinning, all these black and white colors. Looks super, super cool. If the whole performance, the whole staging would be as well thought through as this beginning of the song, I would even say maybe they could qualify. But because it's just the beginning, I will still rank it as only 25%. It still increased, from 10 to 25%, but I don't really see it qualifying at this point of time. I think the beginning is really getting your attention, but I don't think it will go anywhere towards the song. We have seen like how they danced during the dance break in the first rehearsal. So I think we have already seen like really the best part of their staging in this second rehearsal video clip. I don't think it will really develop a lot afterwards. Also, even if you remember the Benidorm Fest performance, in the beginning it was very creative, very interesting visuals, some robots and so on. And then kind of, after like the first minute, it became a little bit more repetitive, a little bit more standard. I think this is the same what will happen this year with this 11-11 song. So I don't really see it qualifying. I think they definitely improved their chances a little bit. So from, as I said, 10 to 25%, but it's still far from qualifying. And here we have our typical Eurovision performance. The more I listen to the song, the more I watch her live performance, it reminds me more and more of Loco Loco from Hurricane, Eurovision 2021. I really thought that performance was so powerful that they will be definitely top 3 of the televoters, at least in their semi-final, and their running order was also not bad. They were somewhere in the middle. But they finished only 9th, I think, in accordance with the televote, that semi-final that year. So it's really not a very high result. And it really proved me that this kind of pop divas with so much confidence performing these super, super powerful pop tracks are definitely appreciated like by miles more by the Eurovision fans than by the general public. So I don't think that Nutsa will really be in top 10 this year or maybe even top 15. I don't really expect that. Also, the judges will not really stand behind this so much, even though her live vocals will be definitely incredible. But I still think we have a very safe qualifier, so I will improve her chances from already very high 80% to actually 95%. I'm sure Georgia is back to the Eurovision final after like Latvia 6 years of just staying only in the semifinals, but I don't think that she will bring such high result as now some people anticipate after the rehearsal. It's definitely much more for us, for the Eurovision fans, than for the general public. Well, it's still one of my most favorite songs from this Eurovision edition, probably my second or third favorite of this semi-final. And it is so heartbreaking to see how he cannot really perform the song as well as we would like him to perform it. And I already ranked his chances as 50% before the rehearsals. I was already seeing him as borderline, rather non-qualifying. Now, after seeing the rehearsals, after seeing in the second rehearsal actually the most powerful part of the song, which should really get, the whole crowd to get up and just, sing along and so on, I saw how much energy he's actually lacking in this part. So I definitely have to decrease the chances from 50% to 20%. I just can't see Belgium qualifying this year. I think this is a great song, but unfortunately a wrong performer. With all respect to Mustii, I don't think that this is the right song for him to perform on the Eurovision stage, and the way how he performs it is also unfortunately not really fitting to the song so much. If Malta, Austria and Georgia are kind of suffering because we have three really strong female bobs, I think Estonia is a bit suffering because we have the Netherlands coming later. So if someone wants to vote for something funny with this kind of male energy, I think they will more often go for the Dutch song. However, Estonian one is a little bit different. It's also, of course, party atmosphere and so on, but it has different vibe. It's also in Estonian language, which is also helping it to stand out even more. I was already ranking their chances as 65% before the rehearsals. I think what we see in the rehearsal is very similar to what we saw on the national final in Estonia. So I don't think that I should change this prediction at this point of time. I will still keep it at 65%. Of course, we are all a little bit underwhelmed when we see not too much improvement on the Eurovision stage, but the general public watching the contest will not have this factor that they expect, something bigger from this country. They will be, I think, more than satisfied with this performance. They are also towards the end, especially performing after Belgium. It's such a great spot. Basically, almost every song would shine with good vocals after the Belgian entry. So I think they will be rather qualified to the final. And now let's talk about Hurricane by Eden Golan. So I was ranking her chances as 95% before the rehearsals. Of course, her vocals were great. The live staging with this circle also looks great, even though we have very similar concept in the performance of Latvia. But I now will decrease her chances to qualify from 95% to 90%. I think that how it all comes up together on stage is not really as perfect as it could be. I don't really like how they use the light on stage. It's a little bit too much light also, I would say, in the beginning when it's, building up slowly. I would wish it would be more dark, that more light comes more towards the end of the song. Their music video was also much, much more dark than this actual live performance. I don't really like the inclusion of the dancers so much, especially with this a little bit strange dancing in the first refrain. Of course, I already got to know from all of you watching my reactions that this is, related to the events of the 7th of October last year. That's why they have this kind of a little bit out of place dancing in this part. I still think they didn't have to bring it on Eurovision stage. It was enough that we saw it in the official music video, because the people watching this from all over Europe, they will not really understand it so clearly. I would also wish Eden to wear some different type of dress, maybe something a little bit more classy. So yeah, I'm not really sure about the staging, and also her vocal sounds great, but I think the mix of her vocal with the backing track is not as perfect. So I would not be surprised if in the end Israel will not finish in top 10, but at least in the final. So a little bit similar to Israel, I have to decrease their chances from 85% to 75%. I think it's still a very powerful entry. It will most probably qualify to the final, but I think the way how they changed their staging from what we have seen in the Norwegian Melody Grand Prix to what we see now in Eurovision is actually a little bit disappointing. In the Norwegian selection, they were using this small inclusions of like Nordic landscapes or something like that. I think the camera work was more effective. Now I'm not really sure I like the background visuals. I don't think it fits the song so well. It becomes not as dark and dramatic as it was before. I think Gunhild also looked a little bit tired, at least on that second rehearsal. I hope all her energy is back on the actual live performance, because this is what matters. These rehearsals, they're just for us to speculate about the results, but they don't have any influence on the final results. So I still wish all the best to Norway. Just now, I have to rank their chances a little bit lower. And our last performer is, of course, Kaleen with Europapa. I was already ranking his chances as 95% before we saw the rehearsals. I was still missing this 5% because we didn't have any clue how his live staging might look like, how his vocal will sound like. But now, after we saw those rehearsal clips, I cannot really say I'm super impressed, and I'm sure it will be like in the top 3 in the Eurovision final or something. But at least now I got convinced he's for sure qualifying, so now he has 100% chance to qualify for me. How well he will do in the Eurovision final, really hard to say. We still haven't seen the full performance. It seems like they will have some interesting concepts as already teasered by the Dutch delegation. So I just can't wait to see it in the Eurovision semifinal and then to talk with you about it afterwards. So what an interesting semi-final it will be. For me, it's also quite funny to see. In the first one, we had 2 performances with the use of some rock. It was Serbia and Ukraine. In this semi-final, we have Latvia and Israel with these circles, with these rings. Also, Georgia is actually using the backgrounds, which also look like a ring of fire. So this semi-final is, about ring prompts. Also, the semi-final is very much about female bobs, about rock songs, about funny songs. So a lot of similar genres in, this semi-final, which might cost them some points, and of course, which might result in having some surprising qualifiers. But as of now, I see the following 10 countries qualifying to the final. They will be Greece, Austria, Denmark, Armenia, Georgia, Estonia, Israel, Norway, and the Netherlands, which means outside of the finals are this year Malta, Albania, Czechia, Latvia, San Marino, and Belgium. Of course, in this semifinal, as you see from my percentages, I see again, as in the first semifinal, 7 countries kind of solidifying their qualification. And then there are 3 which are sort of borderline, which might qualify, might not qualify. And in this semifinal, I see at this point of time only 1 country which is currently in my prediction not qualifying, which can still sneak in, and it's Malta, because I rank their chances as 45%, and then we have some countries with 50, 55% and 65%. So I think Malta might become a surprising qualifier, even though bookmakers put her just on the last place in this semifinal. But what do you think? These are my predictions. Do you agree with everything, or do you think that, let's say, San Marino, after showing us this very impressive snippet, can actually sneak in through the final? Please let me know down below in the comments. And tomorrow, or the day after tomorrow, let's see, I will definitely release a video about my reaction to the rehearsals of the outer finalists. We will talk about where they can place in the end, even though, without running order, it's a little bit hard to predict. But then after the semifinals, we will for sure talk about the results. We will talk about how well these countries can do in the Eurovision final, who should win in the end. So stay tuned. There is still a lot of more interesting content to come. And yeah, see you in the next one. Bye bye.